All right, welcome to the warm-up. Warf is sold here. That's Jeff Power there. Looks like Jeff's in a new spot. He's always on the go somewhere. So
on the road, baby.
On the road to recovery. My guy, he's getting it done. Hey, we're heading to state this weekend, and it's you've been to a lot of state tournaments this past couple of weeks. You've been to swimming and diving. You've been to wrestling. Mm-hmm. Well, we got girls state coming up, and that's where we're going to start when we go into the lineup. Let's start with our girls. We had 5 teams with a chance of going on Tuesday, and we're down to 3 left looking to get a state title ring, bring back some hardware, and we start with the 6A Division I reigning champs of Summer Creek.
Yeah, 23 6A district champs. They were 14-0 in that district. Of course, Summer Creek with a lot of experience. It's their 5th state tournament appearance. They won the championship last year, so been there, done that. They're 34-4. 14-0 in district play, I think, was key. You know, they had teams like C.E. King and North Shore who were tough opponents. Just kind of talking with the players and, of course, head coach Kiara Marshall, they do a lot of film prep. They call it basketball AP, executing the game plan, making sure that they get good defense. Of course, Kennedy Simpson, who picked up a bobblehead earlier this year, had 19 points in their win over Brennan, 60-48. That was their 19th straight victory. Some of the players that, you know, kind of have been standing out, according to Kiara, that maybe don't get a lot of love. Taisha Young, she's a really good sophomore. She has grown tremendously. Kaylin Alexander, another one who just doesn't get enough praise. Aaron Newsom also has been tremendous. It's going to take some unsung heroes off the bench in order to pull off a miracle and win a state championship, because you know what? The defense has been their trait. They're only allowing 35 points per game this season. In fact, in their previous 8 games prior to the win over Brennan, check out these numbers, Ward. Summer Creek allowed 40 to Dawson, 32 to Side Creek, 27 to Fort Bend Travis, 27 to Deer Park. North Shore only scored 25. Kingwood had 25. Humble had 29. And Goose Creek Memorial had 25. I mean, when you're keeping your opponents under 30 points, you're going to win like a lot of the time. Now, they will play Flower Mound for state. And, you know, of course, that's a 5 p.m. tip at the Alamo Dome. Long history of success at Flower Mound. In fact, Kiara Marshall told me that she knows Sharika Nelson really well, the Flower Mound head coach. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Just another Houston area versus DFW area matchup.
I'm a big fan of Kiara Marshall and Summer Creek, but the kids go to Flower Mound. So this is going to be a tough one for me. We'll have to figure it out. You know, Flower Mound's a 3rd-place team out of their district, too, so it's kind of a surprise that they got this far, but they're on a roll here.
All right. Okay.
All right, 5A Division II, we got a team representing us there, too, up there in Barber's Hill. They haven't lost in a while. So I don't think they've lost in 2026, and tell me how they're doing it.
Well, you know, Brian Harris, their head coach, he's done a great job. Coach Harris, 14-0 in District 19-5A, just like Summer Creek. You know, they play a lot of those Golden Triangle area schools that'll definitely test you. They're 37-3 overall. They're coming off a 34-31 win over Cedar Park. Does that sound like defense once again? Defense. No doubt. And Barber's Hill is playing the kind of basketball they want to be playing right now. They are just some of the stats that I thought are kind of interesting. They're undefeated on the road this year. They're 13-1 at home, 10-2 in neutral site games. But they're going to need everything they've got to beat 6-time state champion Argyle in the state final Saturday at 1 p.m. in the 5A Division II title game at the Alamo Dome. It's Barber's Hill's 8th state tournament appearance. They've won 3 state titles. You might remember J.C. Lackey. She was on that volleyball feature story I did. Well, she's on this basketball team, and they've got a lot of big, tall players. Barber's Hill always has great athletes. I fully expect them to give Argyle all they can handle in a really good state championship matchup.
Only 3 losses for Barber's Hill, too, and they all came against 6A teams, so they're well tested here in their classification. When they stay in their lane, they do seem to be able to get their wins. All right, we got one other team that made it to the state final, and that's tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. when Hitchcock takes the court. Tell us about that Hitchcock squad, the Bulldogs.
Well, Hitchcock, I tell you what, head coach Sam Richardson has got his team playing well. They'll take on a good shallow water team out of the Lubbock area. If you know anything about girls basketball, you know there's always great hoopsters coming out of the Panhandle. They've got a lot of area talent up there. This Bulldogs first state tournament appearance, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. You know, usually when teams make it to the finals for the first time, they get kind of glassy-eyed and almost wide-eyed, if you will, when they see a place like the Alamo Dome. You know, you've got the lights, you've got the, you know, the seating where everywhere you look, it's enormous, right? But yeah. I think they'll be up for the challenge. You know, they beat Bishop 63-49 to get to San Antonio. They had close playoff games against Little River Academy out of the Beaumont area and Fairfield. So they've been able to win big games and games that are close. So, you know, in fact, you know, Hitchcock has got great athletic programs. They all push each other. You know, I just think in the last 5 or 6 years, it seems like Hitchcock has always got a team playing for state, whether it's baseball, softball, you know, you name it, a lot of different sports. And Hitchcock seems to always be there, and they got a chance to go win a basketball state title for the first time in school history tomorrow. So we'll see what it shakes out.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. We got 3 teams going down there. Let's see if we can go 3 for 3. That'd be pretty sweet. All right, you know what? We have boys to talk about too. And before we get into that, we talked to one of the most storied boys, legendary coaches that we have in the Houston area. I got a chance to sit down with Greg Wise, who recently got his 1,000th career win. Talk to him about his team that is still cooking in the boys playoffs in our Media Day segment.
The Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer and test drive our award-winning vehicles. Serving up the best treats and eats in Texas. Stop by DQ and treat yourself before and after the game.
Yeah, that's right. I am joined by Greg Wise, head coach over at Yates. And Coach, I mean, I'd be reminiscent if we didn't start this thing off. 1,000 wins, Coach. I know when you started, you weren't like, you know what, my goal was 1,000 wins. It was probably one win and one after that. But to get to 1,000, you've got to be proud of that milestone. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, you know what? It just kind of means, if you look back at the coaches I had when I was growing up and all they meant to me, and you know, I wouldn't have been able to be a coach if I hadn't saw what they were doing for kids and kids' lives and things of that nature. And so you look at that and then to be able to not only get those amount of wins, but, you know, I'm actually more proud of the fact that we've sent more kids to college than anybody in the area. So the win just came all of a sudden because when you're enjoying what you're doing, you don't even really be thinking about that. And then before I knew it, I didn't even start counting until I got like in the 800s, and that's because I was just updating my you know, my resume and things of that nature, not for a job, but just updating it. And so, but now to get to that and see, you know, how few people have got to that, and to be where I am and still being enjoying myself and helping kids is great.
Yeah, you know, I tip my cap to you, but then I have to reveal the bald spot, and I'm not about to do that. But it's funny because I talked to Farron Douglas over at Lancaster last week and congratulated him on 500. And the first thing he says, 500 don't mean nothing when you got 1,000. My man down there in Houston's got 1,000, so I got to worry about that. Hey, you know, you guys have a trademark, which is putting points on the board, running, keeping people on their toes. How hard is it as a coach that's been around for a while to keep an identity with one team from the next? Like when you go into practice and you're maybe not happy with the way you practice, how hard is it to say, you know, my 95 team used to practice like, or my 08 team did this? Is it hard going from season to season and trying to, you know, keep your own identity?
No, because, you know, we set a standard of how we're going to play, and everybody that comes in, they're already excited about playing in that system and you know, wanting to win and understanding that as long as that they playing hard, you know, I don't keep you from doing things that you want to try and do on the offensive end, as long as you're playing defense and playing hard. And so it's actually been, you know, easier than you think. Now, I do bring up, for instance, you mentioned that team that played Lancaster, I do bring that team up because Pee Wee, the point guard on that team, he still comes back at least 3-4 days out of the week and help us out and things of that nature. And there was things that team did that I don't think any other team, not just Yates, but any other team did in terms of being close-knit, growing up playing together and knowing each other's moves like the back of their hand. And even in watching film, I talk to the team all the time about being locked in on the film. And I remember Pee Wee and I used to watch film by ourselves before we even watched it with the team, and he would do stats. And so that's how locked in he was and that team was. So it's easy for the system and get them to play, but I do go back and use some things also. So it's kind of twofold.
I was going to say it must work, and you said something there that was interesting for me. It's probably not as hard for you as other coaches to get people to buy in because you got that track record. You're like, I got 4-digit wins, so you know it works, and it's working so far. We talked about the couple losses, and to be honest with you, we could really chalk those up as ties, right? An overtime game and then a buzzer beater. You almost chalk those up as ties. Nobody wants to hear about ties, so I'm not going to bring it up more.
Yeah.
But what do you think has been working with this squad so far?
The depth on this team is as good as we've had. It's 1 through 15, and then obviously with the way we play, and then you can keep that going. And when you go back, 2 of those losses. One of them, we had 2 starters out, the leading scorer, the third leading scorer, and the first person off the bench. They all missed that game. We still only lost by a couple of points. So, but when you look at the depth that we have, that would be the thing I would say the most in terms of, allowing us to play the way we want to play and do it the whole game and keep up the pressure on offense and defense the whole game. And it took a little bit because some of those guys played football and they went into, the first round to the second round. And so it took a while to get them, and then it took a while to get them acclimated and on the same page with everybody. But now we're kind of doing that, and that's why we're playing so well right now.
Yeah, you kind of look at Region 3, and as we approach the second week of 4A Division II playoffs, Region 3 is the landmark right there. We got all Houston area teams. We got one in Region 4 there with Lamar. Talk to me about how competitive it's been, and maybe if you look at the TABC rankings, you see the top 5 or 6 teams. 3 of them are from your district, including yourself. How much has that helped you to kind of play some of these tough teams as you get here deeper into the postseason?
And you can't get any better because you're not going to play anybody any better in the playoffs than we playing in our district, So, obviously you're not playing teams that are not getting you ready for the playoffs. They're getting you more than ready for the playoffs. And so that's been a super help for us, and I feel like probably for the other 2 teams in the district too.
Excellent. Well, hey, Coach, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Good luck this week, and good luck at the rest of the playoffs. We'll be certainly having cameras at most of your games here.
Sounds good. Thanks very much. Appreciate all you're doing.
The Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer and test drive our award-winning vehicles. Parker University. Check out our bachelor's degree in strength and human performance today.
All right, thanks, Coach. You always learn from the wise ones, and Coach Wise is definitely a wise one, letting us know what's going to happen there with his Yates squad. Hey, let's talk about some boys. We're in the regional tournaments now. Actually, they don't play tournaments anymore. It's just a regional final. Kind of missed the tournaments, to be honest with you, but that's for another day. That's for another day. We're in the regional finals, and we're going to talk about some of these upcoming matchups here. And the agenda brought to you by Allegro.
Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports is brought to you by Allegro Marinade. Whether you're the family chef, a backyard barbecuer, or a jerky-making genius, maximize flavor and tenderness with Allegro Marinades.
Let's start with the Atascocita against North Shore. Atascocita coming off a huge win over a previously undefeated Seven Lakes. And, I never bet against a David Martinez team when it comes to March basketball. And he's got him playing a familiar foe over there at North Shore.
Well, no doubt. District 23, 6A, powerhouse Atascocita, and of course, North Shore. Fifth ranked Atascocita has won 17 in a row and pulled off that shocker you mentioned, beating Seven Lakes over at Delmar Fieldhouse on Tuesday evening. Place was packed. It was going wild. The Spartans were only 35-0 and ranked number 1 in Texas, number 8 in the country, according to Max Preps. But the Eagles always find a way to step up under head coach David Martinez. He just recently got his 600th win of his career. This Class 6A Division I Region 3 semifinal was a high-flying game with the Eagles winning 78-66. It was a near-capacity crowd. New Mexico State signee Jakai Cantave had 26 points to lead all scorers, and Atascocita had a double-digit lead early on. Louisiana Tech signee Adam Boyd had 23 points. And, Seven Lakes, who had beaten Atascocita in this same round last year, actually opened the season with a 1-point win over the Eagles. And one of the note, Royce Shelton, big game, 12 points for the Eagles against the Spartans. You're always looking for that extra guy to kind of come in and have that kind of performance, and he had that. Atascocita is now 29-6. They're in the regional final. They'll play District 23 6A rival North Shore, who's 31-6 after defeating Straight Jesuit 64-53 in the other semifinal Tuesday. Atascocita beat North Shore twice during the regular season, winning 69-58 at home in January and 63-48 on the road a month later. I think North Shore is playing about as well as anybody right now, and they will get a chance to prove that the third time is the charm against Atascocita. We'll see how it shakes out. DeMarcus Sloan is the leading scorer for North Shore, averaging about 15 a game. Of course, Dylan Colbert, Sean Mayberry, some of the other studs around 10 to 12 points. They can hit their shots from the outside with Sam Walker crashing the boards down low. They got a good mix. I like the Mustangs, the way they play both offense and defense. It leads to a lot of fast break points. It's going to be a high-flying affair. These two teams know each other so well. It's going to be really exciting to see how it shakes out.
I know the Atascocita players were gathering around the computer here, just waiting for you to pick North Shore again. They love it when you pick North Shore, but he didn't do it this time. He just said it was going to be a good game. So everybody just ease back, relax.
Back off. I love Atascocita.
Back off my manpower. All right, let's move on down to Class 4A Division II, where we see Lamarck taking on Wimberley. Lamarck is on a roll like no other.
Yeah, District 29 4A, Lamarque, and Brazosport, both still standing. In fact, the only two losses in district for the Exporters were against Lamarque, and one of those games went to overtime before the Cougars pulled ahead. Now, Brazosport is coming off a big 60-55 win over Austin LBJ over at the Merrill Center in Katy, snapping the Jaguars' 17-game winning streak. I got a chance to see that game. Here are the players you need to watch out for Brazosport. Darian Wilson, number 4. He's a senior scorer. He can get it done. Slashing moves, stop, pop. He's got great court awareness. And, Brazosport, who has won 12 of their last 13 games, can also beat you with great ball movement. Number 11, Jeremiah Lopez, is that big threat from the outside. He had some huge three-pointers in that win over LBJ. He hit some shots down the stretch as well. He helped guide the Exporters to a double-digit lead throughout the second half, and even though LBJ kind of made it close late, it was the Exporters that pulled it off. They had good fast break points, and they looked really good on defense as well. Also, keep an eye out for number 3, Nigel Perry. He's also a scoring threat. He's only a junior. Brazosport will play Davenport, who beat Beeville Jones 75-53 in the 4A Division I Regional Finals. As for Lamarque, well, they're going to take on Wimberley 6:30 Friday in the 4A Division II battle. It's a rematch from last year's regional final that Lamarque won. The key for Lamarque is to stop Paul Gumbert Mendoza, who averages 21 points per game and 6 rebounds per contest for Wimberley. He's one of the top players in the region, according to Coach Kevin Wilcox. Now, Wimberley beat Jubilee out of Brownsville 106-62. They smoked them. And Lamarque beat Maynard New Tech 74-46. I know it looks like it was, a wide margin. It was only 29-23 at halftime. Lamarque started the third quarter on a 10-2 run, and they never looked back. The Cougars' bench players are good. There's no drop-off when they come into the game. They know the system. Lamarque has Jacarius Oliver, by the way, who's averaging 16 points per game as a starter and 11 rebounds. Malcolm McNair averaging about 20 points. In fact, he had 20 against Maynard New Tech. The Harris twins, Brendan and Brandon, are both great defensively. They make people take bad shots. Brendan had 12 points in that game against New Tech. And one other guy I want to mention, Derek Edison, he scored 10 against New Tech. Joshua Minix, by the way, he's another key double-digit scorer. He's known for defending the team's top players, so we'll see how that kind of works out. But I definitely think there's going to be a matchup here where Lamarck and Wimberley knew when the season started there was a chance they'd play again, and here it is.
Here it is, another meeting. Hey, speaking about another meeting, how about Houston ISD, a couple of the most storied programs out there with Yates taking on Wheatley. It's 5th Ward against 3rd Ward, and it should be a doozy at Del Mar.
Both are in District 24A, Region 3, Division 2 playoffs here. You know, Yates coming off a close 84-80 win over Katy Freeman High School. Hey, it's the closest game the Lions have had since they played Washington, who they share the 24A title with. Depth is going to be key for Yates, as Coach Greg Weiss told us earlier. And I certainly think Wheatley, who's also in that same district, you know, they lost to Yates back on January 20th by only 3 points. And Wheatley beat Hudson just recently and are playing their best basketball this season. They will need to be on their A game, though, to beat Yates, led by the master, Greg Wise, the wise old owl. And I think, you know, let's go back in a little bit of history here. Wheatley won 4 state championships between 1968 and 74, right after segregation. Meanwhile, Yates won 4 titles before integration in 1968 and has recently been a consistent powerhouse in Texas basketball, including that national title team in 2010 that averaged around 100 points per game. There's some other history, football, you name it. The Thanksgiving Day Turkey Classic played between these two schools between 46 and 66. So what I'm getting at, Ward, is it's a cultural event. I mean, Wheatley and Yates is as big as it gets in inner city Houston. Now it's the battle on the hardwood. It'll go a long way in determining the state champion this year, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that one. They're trying to decide whether that's going to be a doubleheader there at Del Mar, but right now they're going to play it at Del Mar. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see all the games. I'll be down at Girls State. You'll be covering. I believe you're going to cover Duncanville and Cy Ranch, which will be another classic DFW versus Houston matchup. So we'll be everywhere. We'll have it all for you this Saturday night on KHOU 11. Let's finish off now with some rankings here because baseball season's underway as well. Let's take a look at the top 5 6A teams in the Houston area.